Hi. So I am going to read at a brisk pace for time. This is a short story I've been working on, and it is called The Oath. The death pit changed people. That was evident to Will Hammond the moment a pregnant woman stabbed him in the stomach. He'd made it 2 weeks into his sentence without killing anyone, which was 2 weeks longer than Ransom, his alliance leader, had predicted. The woman had been curled up among crates of food and medical supplies. It must have taken months to build up the trove in her well-hidden cave. She leapt out and slipped her knife just below Will's appendix, but grew still as she saw the size of the team. Will reeled, blood seeping between his fingers where he held the wound. Ransom clapped his shoulder and proffered a gun from his holster. "Your kill, Doc." Words from Will's white coat ceremony echoed in his brain. "I will abstain from all intentional wrongdoing and harm." "You know I can't," Will said. "I took an oath." "Oaths are pretty words to hide behind," Ransom replied. He pressed his pistol into Will's hand. "I'll be back with the team in 3 days for the rest of these supplies. You'll just slow us down with that gut wound. Rest up here, and if she's not dead by the time I come back, I'll kill you both myself." In the distance, the creak of metal against metal groaned like thunder. "Unless the Animex get you first," Ransom added. "Your call." Will eased his back against the cave wall. The woman was seated just as uncomfortably across from him. Judging by her belly, tight and distended, the baby could come at any time. "I am a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow human beings." "What kind of society let a child be born in prison?" The sound of giant, rusty metal legs cracking, of buzzsaw mandibles whirring, broke into his thoughts. He looked up in alarm. "Sounds like a stalker wasp," she said. "Take it a good 10 minutes to get to us if it decides to head in this direction." 10 minutes isn't much time. "Time enough for you to do what your friend thinks you have to do and get out of here." "I don't know if I could move very fast with this wound," he said. "Then tape yourself up. There's bandages in that crate." He crawled to the crate she'd indicated. "Why are you helping me?" he asked, taping his wound. "Isn't it obvious?" Her voice was deadpan. "I'm trying to create sympathy so you don't shoot me. Even after 9 months in the pit, I can't get rid of this goddamn survival instinct and let myself die. Name's Valerie, by the way. I've heard telling a potential shooter your name creates sympathy, too." Warmth, sympathy, and understanding may outweigh the surgeon's knife. Shame overtook him. "Don't you want to live?" he asked her. She snorted. "You haven't been in here very long, have you?" It was hard to believe that he was here at all. He'd taken on a difficult case, a patient with necrotic tissue in the right arm. Will had recommended amputation to prevent further spread of the necrosis. Experts he'd consulted had agreed. But the patient was a prominent politician who hadn't been able to accept the loss of his arm. He'd sued Will for malpractice and pressured the medical board and the judge into sentencing Will to 5 years in the death pit. He'd survived thus far because Ransom found him useful for patching up the team's wounds. But now Ransom wanted him to kill, to abandon his physician's oath. "I can't," he said. He removed the clip from the gun and kicked it across the cave floor. "I'm a doctor. I'm not going to kill someone." She leaned forward as quickly as her body would allow and snatched the gun. "You don't have much experience with firearms, do you?" "And you do?" "A little more than you, I think." "Is that why—" He wasn't sure how to phrase the question. "Is that why I'm here? I'm not a violent criminal, if that's what you're wondering. The baby's father is wealthy and found me inconvenient. His family fabricated a reason for me to be in here. I'm sure it's galling to them that I've managed to survive this long." "How have you done it?" "By keeping my head down and doing some very distasteful things that I wish weren't necessary. Stabbing you was one of them. I hope you appreciate that I tried to avoid the vital organs." He winced. "While I do appreciate your precision, I wish you'd decided not to stab me at all." "And what if I hadn't? Would your boss have let me go? Would anyone else in your group be sitting here talking to me now? Grateful as I am that you decided not to kill me, you probably should have. Clinging to your ideals in a place like this is dangerous." "I don't care," he said. "I'm not going to let my circumstances dictate who I am." Her lip trembled, and he thought she might be about to cry. But after a moment, he saw that she was listening to the stillness around them. The birds had stopped their chatter. Even the faint breeze had died down. There was a crashing of trees, and then the stalker wasp's abdomen filled the mouth of the cave. The Animec jabbed its stinger into the ground again and again. Its mechanical legs pressed for purchase against the mouth of the cave. Rock fell from the walls around them. He was frozen. He'd never imagined such horror. He couldn't think, he couldn't move. The stinger pressed further inward, raised itself for a final blow, seconds from splitting his head wide open, from injecting him with venom that would keep him alive while the creature ate. Valerie ran towards the abdomen and jammed her knife upward. Putrescence spurred everywhere, covering the walls and floor with slick stalker wasp innards. The creature fled, dragging its rent abdomen and squalling in pain. "You saved my—" "No time," she gasped. "The baby's coming." Despite the circumstances, it was one of the smoothest deliveries he'd ever done. He watched Valerie cradle her baby and smiled. How long had it been since he'd heard a baby coo? "We could hide," he told her. "Take off with whatever we can carry. We won't be here when Ransom comes back." An injured man and a mother with a newborn, we won't have much of a chance on our own. No alliance will take us in. We're liabilities. "There's plenty of alliances that want a doctor's skill," he said. "Assuming they don't kill us first and find out who we are later. I can try to reason with Ransom, explain that I won't allow him to kill you or the baby." Her eyes were sad. "There's only one way." "I can't kill Ransom," he said. "He's the only reason I've survived this far." "Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do to survive." "I won't do it. I won't compromise myself." "Are your principles that important?" she asked. "They're all I have left." She looked at the baby. "I'm thinking of naming her Hope. That's beautiful. It's all I have left." Ransom returned, as promised, on the third day. Will stood in front of Valerie and Hope, refusing to move. "You wouldn't kill the only doctor on the team," he said. "You need me." "You're right," Ransom said. "Congratulations, Doc. You're too valuable to kill. But we can't take on a mother and baby. I won't kill them, but we'll let them go off by themselves into the woods. It's a fair compromise." "It's a death sentence," said Valerie. "We'll never survive out there without the protection of an alliance." "It's the way it is," said Ransom. "I need the doctor, I don't need you. And unless you've got something to offer, the best I can say is that we go our separate ways, and I don't kill you myself unless we cross paths again." "I'm sorry, Will," said Valerie. "You should have checked the chamber." She lifted the gun and shot him right between the eyes. She held out a blood-spattered hand to Ransom. "Dr. Valerie Tenma," she said, "pleased to join the team." The death pit changed people, made them do what it took to survive. Hope gurgled in Valerie's arms, new and alive. Yay.